Stocks sinking today while the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield touched a record low because of concern over Europe's debt crisis increased. For the details, let's go to Deborah Kostroun at the New York Stock Exchange. Deborah.
Well, thanks a lot, Pimm. And no easing into the shortened trading week after yesterday's holiday. Europe's debt crisis back in the limelight today. Stocks closing lower. And, of course, it could have been a lot worse because at one point the Dow was down 307 points. So closing down 100 points, certainly not at our worst levels. And not only was it felt here, but really around the world, especially in Europe. The stocks index closing at a two-year low. And traders that I talked to saying that everyone really watching what's going on with the European banks. And it's also starting to feel a little bit 2008-ish, some people say, as a global recession edging a little bit closer. And as Pimm mentioned here at home, those 10-year yields reaching a record low. The currency market really heating up. And at one point today, gold hit an all-time high before falling back, Pimm.
Now, Deborah, earlier in this summer, it was initial public offering madness, right? But this volatility in the stock market has some companies such as Groupon thinking again about going public.
Right. You know, since Groupon filed their initial prospectus back in June, the S&P has lost 11%. So now Groupon saying they are postponing its IPO. They're pushing back their roadshow, and they're meeting with investors that were supposedly scheduled for next week amid all the stock market swings. But also, some people say that they also need to address a lot of regulators' questions about their accounting methods. So a couple of things going on there. And getting back to today's session with all the focus on banks, well, traders also watching Bank of America very closely, down 3.5%. J.P. Morgan Chase down 3.4%. Those were the biggest drags in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and those financials the worst performers in today's session. Now, not only was it the first trading day, of course, after the lawsuit that we heard about on Friday, this was the first time that the banks traded on that news, but all this concern about the European banks, they were really looking at. The big concern is the debt problems there. Not only could cripple their financial system, but it could spread over here. Back to you, Pimm.
All right. Thank you very much. Deborah Kostroun reporting from the New York Stock Exchange.